and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I'm Maisie, and this is Maisie with a Z, and today I'm going to be doing a very belated September wrap-up. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. I apologize in advance if I forget details owning these books, because again, we're almost 3 weeks into October, and some of these I read at the very beginning of September, so my memory might be a bit hazy. It was a pretty good reading month where I read 13 books and my average rating was about 4.31 stars. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the books. The first book I read was, I already started it in August, but I finished it at the beginning of September, and that was The Latecomer by Jean Hanff Corlett. This basically follows the same family through like the parents' generation and the children's generation. It's following like the parents first have a set of triplets, and then when the triplets grow up, the mother then chooses to have the triplets were had through IVF, and she then chooses to have another child with the leftover, I don't know, genetic material from the first round. I don't really know for sure how IVF works. So basically this fourth child is born 18 years after the triplets were. So it's basically the first section follows the parents, the second section follows the triplets in their senior year of high school and first year of college, and then the last section follows the youngest daughter in her senior year of high school as she's kind of trying to like reconnect her family, which has been very fractured for basically his entire existence. As I've talked about before on this channel, this was not a book I would have picked for myself. This was given to me by my grandmother, but I found myself, like, I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. I don't really know how to describe my feelings about this. It's just, I don't know, it was an absolutely wild story at some point. I didn't love any of the characters. Like, it was okay. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever read. It was well written. It's just, I don't know if I would recommend it to anyone. Partially just because, like, it's so unusual for, like, what I would usually read that, like, I don't even know who I would recommend it to. I don't know. It's a lot about family relations and growing up and some elements of generational trauma, and it's really interesting. I don't know if I enjoyed it, but it was interesting. But I did give it 3.5 stars, which like isn't horrible. Anyway, the next book I read was Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, which I gave 5 stars. It's standalone fantasy, and it was everything I could possibly look for in a standalone YA fantasy. It had a really cute romance. It had exact right amount of world building. It's about this girl who was raised in a magical library, which is just so fun as a premise. And I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot. Like, it's very book and library centered, and it's just really fun. Like, if you're looking for a good standalone YA fantasy, then this I would absolutely recommend, because it was just absolutely perfect at what it was trying to do. It felt fairly unique to me. I mean, like, I wouldn't say like the romance was groundbreaking, but the world building and magic system and everything felt fairly unique to me. Like, I've read a lot of YA fantasy. I haven't read much that's much like this. And yeah, that's about what I have to say about it. I'll definitely be reading, there's like a companion novella, I think, that came out recently that I'll definitely be picking up, and I'll be trying Margaret Rogerson's other books, where An Enchantment of Ravens has been on my physical TBR for absolute ages, and I'll definitely be reading that soon. And yeah, it was just a good book. It checked all the boxes I look for in a YA fantasy, but did it so well and so interestingly. And yeah, the next book up is The Bride Test by Helen Hoang, and I gave this 4.5 stars. This is the second book in like the Kiss Quotient series, where you don't need to have read the Kiss Quotient in order to read this. I really enjoyed it. I'm always here for the Own Voices Autism rep. I basically took half a point off for like so much miscommunication. Oh my god. I don't know, like, I gave the Kiss Quotient 5 stars, even though like there was a little more miscommunication, and like, but I still gave it 5 stars because I loved the representation. Here, like, I didn't love the representation. Was fine. Like, it was okay. It's just, I loved the representation of the Kiss Quotient. It was pretty good in this, so there's just a difference. See, I did take off half a point for there was so much miscommunication in this book. It was so frustrating. But yes, it was very good. If you liked the Kiss Quotient, I'd definitely recommend it. Or if you're just looking for more autism representation in romance books, then Helen Hoang is definitely a great person to check out. And then next up is another romance book, which was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I've previously read Beach Read and Book Lovers, and I didn't like this as much as either of them. I gave it 4 stars, and I gave both of those 5 stars, I think. This was Friends to Lovers, and it's about these 2 characters who meet in college. They go on vacation together every year, and they have this really sweet romance, but like don't acknowledge their feelings for each other, but like they're definitely in love with each other. And then basically like flash forward to the present. They haven't spoken in the year since their final vacation, which ended disastrously, but we don't know in what way it ended disastrously. And I think that might be the main reason I dislike the book, because, I mean, I didn't super connect with any of the characters, but also just, I don't like the trope of having the present timeline and past timeline, and we don't totally know, like, having some things gradually be revealed through the past timeline until we find out what has actually happened at the end of the book. Because it just feels like we're operating with so little information in the present, you know? So I did give it 4 stars. Like, it was still good. It was still a good romance book. If you like Friends to Lovers, then this is a great book for you to try. Since beach read and book lovers are both more on like the enemies to lovers side of the spectrum. So yeah, it was fairly good. I did enjoy it. Did not love it. Next up was Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. It's like a fantasy fairy tale type book set in Regency England. This girl has half of her soul stolen by a fairy when she's a child, so she's kind of operating with like half of her emotions. And it makes for a really interesting narration. She's been raised by her aunt, and so she and her cousin come to London for the season, so her cousin can try and find a husband. Our main character ends up meeting up with this like main sorcerer person of the kingdom. I'm blanking on what its actual job title is. But they start investigating this sleeping sickness that's affecting children in workhouses. I don't know, it's such an interesting use of the Regency setting compared to like what I usually see from books set in Regency England, which is just like Bridgerton-esque balls and high society without acknowledging like the conditions of people who aren't part of that very privileged class. And yeah, I thought it was a super interesting approach to a fantasy book set in Regency England, and it's standalone. It's a pretty quick read. I gave it 5 stars. It was good. I read so many really good books in September. Like, I think the only one I gave less than 4 stars was The Latecomer, and everything else was a 4-star or higher, and that was really lucky. I don't know. Oh wait, no, I did have one more 3-star book, but we'll get to that at the end. So Half Soul, it's almost like cozy fantasy, but it's just so good. It's a really quick read. If it sounds remotely appealing, I'd definitely give it a shot, because like you're not investing that much time, and I can't imagine anyone like hating the story. You might not love it, but I mean, I loved it, but you might not love it, but I can't imagine anyone hating it. Next up is All Alone with You by Amelia Diane Coombs. This follows our main character Eloise, who during her senior year is told she needs to get like 60 hours volunteering in for her college applications. She ends up volunteering at this program that basically gives company to lonely, like, senior citizens. She ends up getting paired with this boy named Austin to have meetings twice a week with this woman named Marianne, who in the 1970s was like the head of this like very famous band. Eloise has been having a lot of mental health issues that kind of led to her being a bit of a loner at school, and it's her learning to accept help and accept human connection. And I don't know, it's lovely seeing her grow closer to Austin and to Marianne, and the romance is so cute. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it. I loved Eloise, I loved Austin, like they're all so great. Like, I took off half a star because some of the secondary characters were like a little one-dimensional, and also there was some miscommunication that I hated. But other than that, it was a really good book. It was like very solid contemporary YA. And it's the type of book that I think even if you don't usually like contemporary YA, you might like this, because it does have a fairly typical contemporary YA romance, but it's also very much about mental health. And I loved this book to the point that like I'm probably gonna buy it at some point. Where I read it on Libby, and there are very few books that I like choose to buy after reading them on Libby, because usually if I read them it's because I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like them enough to buy them. But yeah, it was very good. But you know what was even better than that was the book I read after, which was Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, which was the last book in the Last Hours trilogy, which I think might officially be my favorite Shadowhunters arc. I loved it so much. I love this trilogy so much. I'm very sad it's over because I love the characters, but I don't know. I adored it. I don't think it was quite as good as Chain of Iron, which was the second book in the trilogy, and which was, I think, genuinely one of the best Shadowhunters books so far. Possibly the best. I might say it was the best. Like, if I were to choose my favorite Shadowhunters book, I would probably choose Chain of Iron. And so like this wasn't quite living up to that, but it was still a very like solid Shadowhunters book. Absolute 5 stars. Like my only complaint is there's this love triangle that's set up that I don't think needed to be there. But other than that, it was so good, and I love the series. I love Shadowhunters so much, but I especially love the Last Hour's characters. I don't know, I'm gonna be so sad waiting for the next Shadowhunters books to come out. The next trilogy, which is the final trilogy, isn't even coming out for ages. And I think Cassandra Clare is starting a Kickstarter to do a couple of releases before that. One thing I'm hoping will fill the void is my copy of Swordcatcher came in the mail today. I haven't gone and picked it up from the mailroom yet, but that's Cassandra Clare's first non-Shadowhunters book, and hopefully that'll help fill the void somewhat in the space between Chain of Thorns and whatever the next Shadowhunters book is. And yeah, so that was 5 stars. Next up was The Fortnight in September, which is by R.C. Sheriff. This was originally published in the 1930s. It's basically following this family during their annual 2-week vacation to the shore in September, and it's just following like their minds and experiences and their plans for the future and their thoughts about the past, and it's so like slice of life. It's just so lovely, and it's following just their experiences as humans, and I don't know, it's very cozy feeling. It's very like chill book. Like there's not intense plot or character development in it, but it's a very like slow, quiet book, but it's so wonderful and lovely, and I truly adored it. If any of that sounds like anything you would like, I would definitely give it a try because it's just gorgeous. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about it because there's not much to say about the plot, but it's just a lovely book. I definitely recommend it. The last non-manga book I read was When You Wish Upon a Lantern by Gloria Chow, and I gave this 3 stars. It's a romance set in Chicago's Chinatown. It's following this girl and this boy who have grown up kind of being friends despite being the children of owners of like neighboring shops who hate each other. And basically our female main character, her grandmother's died recently, which was a huge blow to her because her grandmother like basically raised her. Her parents live at home, but her like grandmother did like the brunt of, she and her grandmother had like the most connection. She finds out their shop is struggling, so she's trying to save it. The boy's kind of trying to help her, and his family runs a bakery and he wants to take it over someday. He has a very complicated relationship with his father and brother. I don't know. It's a kind of cute romance. It's just, I feel like I've read plenty of books with similar vibes to this, and this did not do it the best. It feels like a very average YA contemporary romance. It's hitting the right romance plot points. It's just not doing anything particularly interesting with them. And I hated most of the characters. Honestly, our main characters didn't even have any personality. I mean, they had a little bit of personality. It was okay. I honestly probably wouldn't recommend it. There are better books to read, which is sad because I did have high hopes for it. And then I read 4 manga volumes this month, which were volumes 1 and 2 of One Piece and volumes 1 and 2 of Yona the Dawn. And the One Piece volumes I gave 4 stars and 3.5 stars respectively. And the end of the Dawn volumes, I gave both 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed both, like, the starts of both series. I'm probably going to continue with both of them. I'm still figuring out how to do that because I originally started them because I was going to transfer to a college that was in my hometown, so I would be able to use my public library. My public library's, like, physical collection, which has manga, and its digital collection, which I use for most of my like library books, doesn't. But now I'm back at my original school, so I don't really know how I'm going to continue it. I might try and get there's some libraries like the Queen's Library that let you get an out-of-state library card to access their digital collection, and some of them have extensive manga on their digital collection, so I might try that. We'll see. Just because both these series are so long that like I don't have any interest in purchasing them. I'd rather get it from the library. So yeah, I really enjoyed the stars of both series. They're very different vibes, but I think they're both super fun. And yeah, that's everything I read. It was a very good reading month for me. Like, only 2 books below 4 stars is very good. I had, I think, 4 5-star books, which also extremely good. Would recommend. Yeah, so that's about all I have to say about my September TBR, or about the books I read in September. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and tell me what you read in September. Subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Yeah, hopefully I get this up soon. because we are rapidly approaching the end of October. But yeah, if you stuck around this long, thank you for staying to the end of the video, and yeah, I will see you later.